Happy Wednesday, everybody. Halfway through the week. Unbelievable, but I've got to get a wiggle on, right? I'm Russ Kane. You kind of know that by now. This is The Daily Show, only on Man's Radio Station. I haven't got a jingle because I don't do jingles. Right. I don't want to go to New Alden first. I want to go to this place in Australia. It's only Ken Evans. Ken, welcome from Australia.
Hi,
Where are
Perth,
you?
Australia. I'm in Perth. Western
You are in
Australia.
Perth. What's the time in Perth?
It's about 8 o'clock.
And you're about to have your supper. I haven't even had breakfast.
Well,
And I got to tell you, you look horribly well and you look great. Ken Evans, live from Perth, Australia. Don't go away. Coming in live from, not Australia, sadly, New Malden. Not quite as exciting. It's only, let me finish my breakfast in time before the show starts. Neil, I'm having a sandwich long.
I finished, but I've got an awkward bit stuck in the back of my throat. Can I just take me off screen for a moment?
Let's bring on a proper guest because I cannot take this amateur hour anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, he's choking. He's choking. Nikki Kinsella. Hello, Nikki.
Hello.
Bet you're glad you agreed to come on the show. Have you ever seen such?
You could be forgiven for thinking, what the hell have I just walked into?
I don't know. Now, Nikki, I'm going to be honest with you. Apart from having a very cool name, I know nothing about you because this is Neil's gig. He's very excited that you're here, and we've got you for 15 minutes. So off you go.
Oh my God! I thought we were having a chat about me coming on. I didn't realize I was coming on.
Oh goodness!
Well, you could have made an effort. I mean, you could have made an effort. Jeez, I mean, you know.
Well, maybe I can introduce you. Can I give you the big build-up?
Oh,
if you don't want to come on now, but we can do it another time.
Well, they've all seen you now, Nikki. Awesome. They've seen you as you are. You know,
I can talk the legs off a chair, so I'm all good. I'm all good. So
one of my little side hustles is helping people get their podcasts online. One of my favourite clients, who's been on here twice, you'll remember her, Russ, is Jo Happiness Howarth. She is just, and everyone loves. Who doesn't love Jo Haworth?
Well, however, not physically, but anyway.
Her latest season of podcast, season 2, you were one of the guests, and I remember editing it and thinking, I would love to get her on MRS. Right, I want to speak to this woman. I thought your energy was fantastic. I thought, oh my God, I've really got to speak to you. And then by a bit of universal synchronicity, which I know Jo likes to talk about this morning, it came up today, and here you are, boom.
And more importantly, Nikki, can I just say this? Ken wants to go and have his Thai curry, and it's getting cold. Ken, we love you. We'll speak to you very soon. Lots of love. He was starving, to be honest with you. Right, go on. Off you go, you two.
Tell us about yourself, Nikki. That you're the feminine energy coach, right? Tell us all about that.
So I'm the feminine energy guide, but coach is fine. I work with female entrepreneurs, and I just help them to remove all the niggles and the limiting beliefs and all the bullshit that they tell themselves. Really,
the word she used there was niggles. By the way, don't
niggles.
Write it.
Yes, and I
don't need any more nonsenses. Thank you.
No. God, so do you know what? I thought as soon as I said that, it didn't sound right.
It's okay. It's okay. I was on Talk TV the other day, Saturday, right? And they blanked me out and made a public apology. And all I said was, blah, 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 dicking around. And they blanked out my screen. And this should have thought, it was pathetic. And then the woman says to me, you love this, Nikki, about energy. She says to me, no, I said, well, what have I said? And she said, oh, don't you worry about what you said. And I went, tell you what, I won't. And I went on, and her face was a picture. Right.
Actually, I can share this with you, Nikki, because I know it's probably not unlikely that you've come across one or two metaphysical terms in your time. I go to a law of attraction thing online with a fantastic chap called Nick Bro, and he advertises on Facebook, and he fell foul of their algorithm for talking about vibrations. I don't know what they thought he was selling, but he meant, the vibration you put out to the universe. That's exactly what he meant, and he fell foul of it.
Yeah. So this show is sponsored by Ann Summers. Right, come on, Nikki.
That's not what I said.
15 minutes.
I can only apologise, Nikki. I can only apologise for the animal.
No, it's great.
It's like Radio 4, isn't it, Nikki? Like Radio 4.
This is not Woman's Out. I thought your energy was fantastic. I thought your story was fantastic as well, because you haven't always been the feminine energy guide, have you? So if you want to, just give us a tiny bit, as much as you want to or comfortable with, backstories of how you got to where you are today, and then we'll look at what you're doing going forward and the lives you're touching with what you're bringing to the world.
Oh, thank you. So, in a nutshell, I was born into a narcissistic environment. My nan was a raging narcissist and
Oh,
ruled
dear.
the roost and wasn't a very nice human being. Bless
Ooh.
her. And then went to school. Was bullied. This isn't a sob story, by the way. It gets better.
No,
Bullied through.
Never
primary school.
Nikki, please never apologize. We started these radio stations to hear these stories, so
Quite.
please never apologize.
And this is 100% safe space.
Thank you.
Go on.
Then my mum and dad split up when I was 13. My mum was in an abusive relationship, physically and mentally.
Right.
And then married a narcissist when I was 21, escaped when I was 26, but had a habit of self-medicating with things that I shouldn't have been self-medicating with. So alcohol and drugs until I was about 35. And then I had me kids. I lost my mum and dad within 18 months of each other. My dad died of an autoimmune disease. My mum died of lung cancer, which I'm just doing this today. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show this, but the cold water challenge.
Go ahead. Bring it to the camera because I can't.
Yeah,
see.
put it up to the
Put it
screen
right
so we
up.
can
What is
see.
it? No,
wrong
no.
way.
Oh, this is
I do that all the time. It's
Left a
reversed.
bit. Left a bit. Left a
You're
bit.
on.
Cancer Research UK, yeah.
Oh, better. There you go.
Oh, well, that's fabulous.
You wear it well.
Thanks.
Oh, it looks good.
So it's a fundraiser you're doing for Cancer Research today, is it?
That's
The
great.
cold water challenge. So it's 30 seconds in
You
cold
lost
water.
me at cold.
So
Cold water
You're going a bit
challenge.
Wim Hof on us here, are you? So
God.
30 seconds in cold water.
yeah, to raise money for cancer research. So I'm
right.
just gonna dunk for 30 seconds. But from all of that, from when it was really the catalyst was when my mum passed away. We lost her within 12 months, and I was like, what am I doing? I wasn't doing anything with my life, and I knew that I wanted to do.
Sometimes it takes something. I heard a phrase a while ago from a lady I went to see who was a counsellor, and she said, first it's like little taps, and then it's loud knocks, and then the universe will throw a big stone at you. And it's kind of essentially just trying to wake us up and make us ask these questions for our own good, so we can be fulfilled and happy and do what we came here to do, kind of thing.
So
you
suddenly thought, what am I doing
And
with my life?
It's
And
not an uncommon story, but you're doing. So you asked all these questions, and I know you said on Joe's podcast you learned some wonderful skills. What kind of tools did you explore?
So Reiki found me first when I just had my daughter. So it was all I started learning about energy, that we're all energy and everything is energy, and how other people's energy can often contaminate us. And then once I started looking,
particularly if they're narcissists, hugely, and particularly if you're sensitive. They say that empaths attract narcissists. And I've learned a lot more about narcissism in the last few years, and I've really started to recognize it in people, and I really keep a distance now.
I know they're wounded
because
she's
I know
only here for
everyone's
15
child of the same
minutes.
source and all that, blah blah blah, but it doesn't mean I need to be around it while they're expressing that. And that's a really
exactly it, isn't it?
that is a hard no now for me. That is an absolute boundary that I will not
Nikki,
violate.
let's hear from you, Nikki, because we've only apparently got you for 15 minutes, and that time is rapidly disappearing. So
Reiki,
let's
what
hear
else?
from you.
Reiki energy. So looking at the signs that my body was giving me that things weren't quite right, that I was ignoring. So I had constantly had a bad back, and that was because I didn't feel safe, which is my root chakra. And then once I started learning all about the energy centers, I started looking inwards, and I could hear this really horrible neggy bitch voice that was going on, and it was the shit that I was chatting to myself. What I was saying to myself was so unkind. Have you ever seen Dr. Emoto's water experiment?
Yes, I have. It's amazing. Do you know about this one, Russ?
Never heard of it.
This is extraordinary. Just to prove that energies can affect each other, there was a scientist that put it to the test. I'll let you tell the story, Nikki.
So we had 2 glasses of water, and he didn't speak anything out loud, but he just sent the intention to one glass of water that you are beautiful, I love you, you are everything, blah, 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 all positive intentions. And then to the second glass, it was like, you're disgusting, I hate you, you repulse me. And he froze the water. And when he got the water out, the beautiful one that he loved had all formed in perfectly formed sort of little snowflakey icicles, and it was really pretty. But the one that he didn't like hadn't even formed, and it was all brown. But we're 80% water, so the power of our thoughts affects us on a cellular level, and that like blew me head clean off. And I was like,
I know that's hard to believe, Russ, and I found that difficult at first, but it is
a little hard to believe. Yeah, I could be honest with you.
I'll send you a link later. You can have a look at the pictures. It's quite an amazing experiment.
All right, Nikki. Continue.
Have you ever had someone eyeballing you though, and you've not realized?
All the time. I'm a very handsome man, Nikki. I'm used to it.
But that's it. That's that
What do you-
feeling of
shut up,
someone
Neil.
sending
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I don't understand what the question is, to be honest with you. What is that?
You feel someone's vibes when they're looking at you.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just the
of
energy.
course.
If
obviously.
someo's in a bad mood, you can feel that energy
So
of
So if
them.
you can feel it, why do you find it hard to believe that water could be affected by
I
it?
didn't. I just said I'd never heard of the experiment.
You look
Have a
cynical.
look. It's mind blowing. So that
So
was
what
the
else?
start.
Reiki and what else?
So Reiki, I do something called quantum holographic echo healing, which is subconscious
easy for you to
removal
say.
of like limiting beliefs, emotional blocks.
Say that phrase again, Nikki. I really didn't
Quantum
catch it.
holographic echo healing. It's
Quantum
subconscious.
holographic echo healing. Have I got that right?
So the quantum is the big field of energy that we're all in. So we're all connected because we're all energy. Our
Right.
holograph is our blueprint. So who are you and what's happened to you in your life and what does your energy look like on a blueprint?
Terrible.
The
And-
echo is the trauma that keeps coming up like an echo because it's unhealed. And then the healing is what happens once you've done that.
Okay.
Because I'm on a pretty similar journey too, to be really honest, and I'll talk more about it on here anytime you want to, Russ.
Okay.
because You get
Okay.
some amazing insights. But
This is good. I like this bit.
what I'm
This is
coming to
good.
realise is there is a massive potential which we are all starting to awaken to and tap into, and it's happening around the world. I'm having more and more conversations like this. And I love to see it in other people. One, because it's lovely to see, and two, because it validates my journey as well.
Yeah.
And we
Let's
can
talk
amplify
about
that.
let's talk about your journey when we got oodles
No,
of
I am.
time.
I am. I'm
I want to
coming
hear
back to
about
It's amazing
Nikki's
because it's
journey and her sat nav. and
relevant,
everything.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
So it's a lovely thing to see. Yeah.
So from that, I'm a meditation teacher. I'm a life coach and all other things. So anything that I could get my hands on really to help other people heal, or things that I'd experienced that were helping me to heal, I was then helping other people.
And I think
with.
it's important to say, I do need to say this, Russ, actually, because we've all this potential that we're tapping into, which is amazing. However, we've all got these echoes, as you call them, these wounds, our past, if you like. And a lot of people try and suppress it, push it down, put the brave face on. And that works a bit for a time if you drink enough booze or get addicted to work or whatever. But eventually the mask comes off, and it's easier to do it when it's just little pebbles rather than big rocks. But this stuff does have to be processed so we can be clear to expand into our greater
Yes, I go
potential.
along
You
with
agree
that. I get along with that.
If you
Unresolved
think
issues.
of emotion as energy and motion, so if you think of
Nice.
all like when you're happy, you want to like piss yourself laughing, and it's like it just comes out, or when you're sad, you cry. But if you've been in a situation where you can't express that emotion, or an emotion of anger or fear, or all the lower frequency negative sort of energies that you hold in your body, it becomes a dis-ease, and you hold them in different parts of your body. So for example, if you're constantly angry but you can't express it, it'll affect your liver. Your lungs is grief and dis-ease. It's just amazing when you look at everything from an energetic perspective. I do something now called the freedom sequence, which is my own modality where I work intensively with each of the energy centers, moving like emotional blocks, limiting beliefs, cutting cords.
I'd love to have a session with you. Do you do it online?
Yeah, I do. It's
I heard a
intense.
really clever thing, a wonderful thing from a wonderful spiritual teacher called Alan Cohen. He says, when we go against the natural flow, because the natural flow is ease, and when we do that, I thought this was so clever, we dis-ease. Which I thought was really, really, really clever.
That's it. We're so conditioned, aren't we?
Your energy. This is what drew me to your energy. You're just so bouncy and full of life, and this is what I see in most people that have turned the healing corner and putting their legacy out into the world, and it's wonderful. Are you having fun? What's next for you?
Oh my God, I've got a Mexico retreat in September for it is for female entrepreneurs. Sorry, so you could put a wig on and come if you wanted.
I'm very convincing.
No, it depends what he identifies as by September. But apparently, that's the new way you can do it, Neil. Just join the women's swimming team. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so it is inclusive. Let's just say that.
It's inclusive if you're a woman.
God, we're going to get into trouble now for saying that.
No,
Carry
not
on. Carry
on.
Don't worry
it's
about it.
all cool. Totally cool.
So I'm doing a program called Shift the Shit, because that's exactly what it does. And it's the
Well, you're going to Mexico. You've gone to the right country for that.
That's something different. That's for female entrepreneurs.
So in Mexico, it ain't.
That want to slow down. That tell you what, I went last year and did it last year, and that was an experience. It was amazing.
You find a big cup next time, by the way.
So Shift the Shit the freedom sequence over 2 days, but then with some coaching afterwards, so that once you've removed all the blocks and you've got clarity and you feel lighter, and show off your moves, Neil.
We got a class audience. I'm telling you that, Nikki. We got
Love
a
the
class
show.
audience.
I'm
Well,
growing
go.
them because I want to come on this retreat in Mexico. Anyway,
Yeah, of course you will. Yeah. You and 28 women. All trying to get to the bathroom at the same time after eating
and I
dinner.
imagine the modality that you
jeez.
do. I like what you say about the retreat, because sometimes it's good to go through a session and then have a little extra time to integrate what you've learned. Otherwise, it becomes a lot of head knowledge. But I find some of the best teachers, including yourself, they will teach and then give you a couple of days to integrate. Then the whole thing can build on itself, rather than just accumulating a lot of head knowledge. So I love this.
Everyone will want something different as well. So some people will want more like business mentoring. So it's like, right, I've had this idea and this is how I'm going to do it. And now I feel like it can be seen because I've moved all the shit about me being not good enough and not being seen. And so it's that. But then other people will want more, something might have come up for them that they still need to heal. So we'd look at that.
Yeah.
And still be
And business and personal development are not mutual. Business and personal development are not mutual. I'm sorry, I'm rushing because I know we're pushed for time.
No, it's all right. I've got a couple of minutes. Don't worry. I've not got to half.
So, Nikki, right. Do you look after guys, number one, or only women?
It's normally only women, and that's because I haven't had any men come to me, because I'm the feminine energy guide, but men have feminine energy as well.
So it's not going to work for me. It's not going to work because I'm very interested. No. I'm very interested in the certain aspects of what you've been discussing that I'm really interested in, but clearly I can't come to you as a client. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's all done online. I do everything online mainly. The freedom.
But I still can't come to you on. I mean, forget whether it's in line or in person. I clearly can't come to you because I'm not a woman.
Yes, you can.
I've just said no. I didn't say that. I just said.
Well, you said you haven't had men.
I haven't had any.
You've got to get in touch with your feminists.
Yes. No. I'd love to do a session with you if you want to book us.
Okay, I'm going to get you details from. There's a couple of things that I want to discuss. That's interesting. I like it.
And do you know what it is? That's the best word to describe it, because you go, oh my God, interesting.
No, but it is interesting.
You find so much stuff about yourself that you didn't know you believed, and it's someone else's belief that they've just pasted on you as a little human, and you've carried it your whole life and not.
And suddenly, when you realize that freedom from all this conditioning, sometimes I've seen it online on the Zoom calls that I do. It's like 10 years comes off people. Yeah. They light up.
Look at Ken. Ken looks 10 years younger. Even Ken, a week.
But it's literally, it's like the world's cheapest facelift. Honestly, they're just like they're the same, but they're different in the most wonderful way.
What you were just saying before about business and like life, I was
saying they're not mutually exclusive, are they?
Well, I think whatever's going on in your personal life shows up in your business. So if you're trying to push forward in your business, but you've got something holding you back and you don't know what it is, but you feel like shit and you need to get it out, it's finding that and putting a name on it. So for example, it could be from when you were 5 and you felt like you'd been abandoned, and that emotion will be trapped in your lower energy centers, really making you feel unsafe so that you don't feel like you can be seen. So it's just, and then when you see it and you go, oh my God, and the memory comes back, and then we talk about the memory and we move that energy through and make you feel safe, and it's normally booked on.
Brilliant. So if people want to learn more about you, the Feminine Energy Guide, but let's make really clear in public that they probably can't come to the female retreat, but they certainly can come to you online as a client. And it's Nikki, Niki, I like your spelling, NikkiKinsella.com. And just very quickly before you go, the charity thing you're doing today, can we stick a link up if anyone wants to donate? Because I might give a couple of bucks. Go on, where can people find it?
Oh, I don't know how to get it to you. I've got it on my phone, but I don't know how to.
Well, just read it out, and then
I'll tell you what. Send it to me. DM me, and I'll put it on the screen before the end of the show. If that's all right, Russ.
Yes, I will. I'll do it now because I've got it here.
Nikki, Niki, Kinsella.com. Keep going, Nikki. You're obviously putting out some great work into the world, and it's been lovely to meet you. And I hope our paths.
Will you come back when you're not in such a rush, so you don't have to talk in shorthand?
Can I just say one more thing before I go? I've got a book on Amazon called The Feminine Energy Guide. So if anyone wants to find out more about my journey, it's like part autobiography, part everything that I love, helping you to bring that into your life to help you find more balance and self-love and understanding and all the shizzle.
On the screen.
Jesus. Right. Nikki Kinsella, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hustle, hustle. Got lots to do. Cheerio.
Thank-
Nikki, I'll speak to you soon.
There we go. Right. Marvelous. Okay. Well, I like some of that.
What bits you uncomfortable with out of
I
interest?
don't know. Some of it was a bit new agey to me. Some of it made a lot of sense, and some of it was all a bit Californian, new agey.
I'm afraid
stuff.
California has given this kind of work a very bad name.
Well, of course it has, because it's crap. That's
when
why.
it's done
It's
properly, because
garbage.
I've been in seminars and situations when it's been done properly, and my God, when it's done properly, it is
I
freaking
know, I
powerful.
get that. Matey, I get all that. And the difference is that, we're inundated. Well, I am, with people who want to come on, and I look at it and I go, and I don't mean Nikki, but I look at other stuff and I think this is snake oil. This is just bullshit snake oil, because people are looking for answers and people get desperate and they'll try anything.
They will,
And
and
they
there's
will
people
try
that
absolutely anything, and it's my
and there's
job.
people that can pick those people out and zone in on them and virtually tantamount to scam them out of loads of money. Yes, the snake oil salesmen do exist.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. So discernment is a really, really good thing.
It's
But
very,
I've got to say,
very
with this work-
important, because I feel a responsibility to all the listeners and viewers all over the world. I feel a responsibility for my own reputation, and I don't want anything like that. So a lot of what Nikki was saying, I liked, and some of it I thought, I didn't quite understand. But there we go.
quite understandable.
It's interesting. Elizabeth, I don't agree with you. I don't know, and often I don't agree with you. Whatever gets you through the night, take what works for you. That's fine, but it's not a universal panacea. That's the point. It's
No,
not a
because we're all
universal
unique. We've got different
prescription.
paths.
It's like it might work for you, and it might not.
Different paths, different wounds, different people. Look, it's a good
Totally.
analogy.
Totally.
Some people love roller coasters. I love them. I'm
Christ.
on roller coasters all day long. Some people hate them.
I hate
It doesn't
them.
mean the
I hate
roller
them.
coaster's right or wrong. It's just the different person with the different people.
I'll give you
respond-
another example.
Come on then.
Yeah. Beetroot. Beetroot, the fruit of Satan.
Very good for you though, and it turns your
I don't
week
care.
pink.
I hate it. It's disgusting.
Very
Right,
good for you.
I want to
Like
spend
rice.
some more time with our next guest. I know it's early, but there's always so much to discuss, and I'm very excited about this. As you know, gang, every Wednesday at 12:30, it's our legals. It's our legal time, and I'm thrilled because people are now writing to me saying, "Could you ask Hattie about?" Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm not surprised.
without further Edward ado, Hattie Suvari.
Yay!
Hey guys, how are you?
We're very well. We're very, very good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm holding my hot cup of coffee really tightly because
Why is that?
it just feels like the cold's not going to go away this year.
Oh, I don't like the heat, so I'm
Oh.
quite happy with that.
24
all right.
degrees standard for me. I'm Mediterranean. I need the heat.
You need
By
the heat. I
default.
get very uncomfortable in the heat. I just kind of I like air conditioning. There we are. That's not why we're here to talk about it. Hattie, I'm
We're
busy
talking
looking
about
for
neighbours today,
busy
aren't
looking
we?
for your back.
We are.
Oh,
Where's
where's he
Russ?
I
Russ.
don't know.
He's
Well,
ducked out.
Looks
Neil.
like it's just you and me, Hattie.
Well, if he appears back, that would be lovely. But it
I have to say, I said this to you on LinkedIn the other day. I never thought that law could be so easy to understand and so interesting.
hey,
I've always had the stereotype of law as being stale, pale, and male, and dull and
No,
difficult.
it's not.
Talking to you've brought it to life, and I find it
I
not
hope
only
so.
engaging and interesting, and so easy to understand. So brilliant decision, Russ, having this lovely lady on here.
Well, it
Superb.
was an easy decision for me to make after we met, thanks to our mutual chum, the lovely Chantal Rickards, who's a brain box of the
yes.
first order.
thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Noisy neighbours, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
neighbours.
The figures on these, the stats on these are staggering. So over 1,200 complaints are made to local councils every day.
Wow. What?
Yes. Last year saw over 450,000 complaints to councils, averaging one complaint every 70 seconds in the UK
Wow.
about noisy neighbours. So statistically, that's a lot. apparently only around 32% of Brits actually take action to try and stop noisy neighbours. So there's a lot of people out there that are probably suffering in silence with this problem.
I got to tell you, there's a friend of mine who's a comedian, an impressionist called Charmaine Davis. She's brilliant, and we've done work
I know
together.
her.
And Charmaine lives on the coast somewhere, and for the past solid 12 months, 7 days a week, from beyond 8, earlier than 8 in the morning till God knows when, there is drilling, and it is giving this chum of mine a complete nervous breakdown.
Do you know she's made a complaint to a local council?
Yeah, she's made a complaint to absolutely blooming everybody, and still they somehow are within their rights. I wish she was on the show. I'd like to get her.
I hope that I can tell your friend Charmaine and maybe some other listeners what the council has to do if we have time, because
Please do.
I've got it in bullet points so I can just go bang, bang,
We're
bang.
going to shut up. We're going to shut
No,
the hell up, and you're going to continue.
Don't shut up at all. But look, noise pollution, noise nuisance, disturbance, some people call it antisocial behaviour. It's a really big problem in the UK, noisy neighbours. Anyone that's interested, England and Wales Schedule 2 of the Housing Act 1985, that's the boring bit, allows for excessive noise nuisance to be possible grounds for eviction if the person is a tenant. Yes.
Wow.
So you could be evicted from a tenancy, whether it's a private tenancy, whether it's a council tenancy, a housing association tenancy. It could go that far. So what is acceptable by law as noise? Our laws very, very, very simply state that unreasonable noise is defined as noise that unreasonably and substantially interferes with the use or enjoyment of your home, or causes injury to your health, or likely to cause injury to your health. And I'm talking about mental well-being here when I say health, right? Because if you've got, as your friend has, drilling
endlessly, and it's a flat, and she can't, and she cannot work out what the hell is taking so much. It's really appalling. It's really affected her very, very badly.
Well, we're going to talk about the steps that you can take to try and stop your noisy neighbours. But one of the biggest myths, right, around this area of law, I think, is that people believe that noise needs to exceed a certain decibel level for the council to be able to take action. That is a myth. That is not true. It doesn't exist, because any noise that unreasonably interferes with let's go back to your use or enjoyment of your home, or causes you injury to your health, or likely to cause injury to your health.
I'm so sorry to dive in for a sec.
Yes.
Could you redefine the word injury?
Okay, so I'm referring to that as your mental well-being.
Right.
If it stresses you out, distresses you, it doesn't allow you to sleep. Because of your lack of sleep, you end up having ill health.
Right.
That's what I'm referring to when I say your health, basically, because noise is unlikely.
Though, isn't it?
Sorry?
How would you prove that then?
Well, you go to your GP and you'd make a complaint to your GP about how you feel. That's one way. Your GP makes a detail on your health records. It's then no one can dispute that, because your GP will listen to you and say, this is what my patient is telling me, this is what I'm finding, and this is perhaps what I've had to even subscribe to help my patient, or this is the advice I've had to give. Okay, key tips to trying to get a noisy neighbour to stop being noisy.
Right.
Make a note of every incident. It is so important. Even if you literally scribble down the date, the time, and what it is you're hearing. Okay, so what you think you're hearing, because sometimes you don't actually know what the noise is. Unlike your example, Russ, drilling is drilling. I get it. So make a noise and then gather as much evidence as you can. And I know that most of us have these smartphones these days where you can press record and you can start recording. And not always can noise be heard on a recording. So, for example, you can hear it, but you press record and it doesn't sound that bad after all.
Yeah.
But you can prove it sounds quieter. Yeah. But you could prove on this day, this time, this is what I think it is. And this is any evidence that I can gather, video or voice recording, anything you can gather at all. And then just one liner, how it made you feel. how that makes you feel.
Or can you put down not just that, like I couldn't sleep, or
Yeah,
it
exactly. So
disturbed me, or
exactly
it
how it
gave me
made
a
you
headache,
feel.
or
Absolutely.
okay.
How many complaints was it a day again, Nikki? Hattie, sorry, I'm going to put it on the screen.
Nikki, right? That's it.
That was our last
logging
guest.
off.
He's obsessed with Nikki Kinsella. He's obsessed. with her.
1,200 complaints a day, one
Unbelievable.
every 70 seconds, 450,000 last year. Make a note, keep a note, because anybody you're going to say this is actually affecting me now, whether it's your council, whether it's their landlord, if the property is a tenanted property, whether it's the police, they're going to say, when? What happened?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel? So
Can I
that
ask you-
is, yes.
I want to ask you something. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a couple of questions
Yes.
here. First of all, what if it is work that actually legitimately needs doing? That is
11
important
p.m.
work?
to 7 a.m. You cannot, in a residential setting, make noise that disturbs your neighbours.
And what
11
about
p.m.
weekends? What
to
about
7
weekends?
a.m. Well, there's no days set in that,
Oh, okay.
actually.
All right.
So they just say,
okay.
I mean, look, if you're having a party at 12 a.m. on a Friday night or Saturday night,
I'd never do that. I'd never do anything like that.
but if you were, or you know, some youngsters were doing it, or whatever, the children, the grandchildren, or the tenants, and you called the police, and the police came and said, "Look, you know, you got to quieten down. This is now becoming disturbing."
Yeah.
That would, you know, that would be dealt with in that way. But if your neighbour is consistently having parties at 12 a.m. every single Friday or weekly on whatever night, then it becomes an unreasonable, consistent disturbance.
Hattie, let's have those times again, because and just to reiterate to everyone watching and listening all over the world, Saturdays and Sundays are the same as Monday to Friday. There is now no delineation. So what's the times when you
11
cannot work?
p.m. to
Yeah.
7 a.m. I mean, I think 11 p.m. is quite late
It's
because
bloody late.
Yeah, I've got young children. My young children, when they were very young, would be in bed by 7:30, 8.
Yeah.
You know, you could. I'm in bed by 9, 9:30. That's my life. I'm up at 5, in bed very early. So if somebody was making so much noise that I couldn't sleep at 9 or 10 p.m. and they
Now-
were a noisy neighbour because it was consistently being done, because that's just the way of life.
I understand. I mean, I have to ask this
That'd
other
drive me
devil's
mad.
advocate question. I have to say I'm a bit weird, because if someone's having a party over the back of my house, I'm the exception. I'll be the one leaning out the window going, "Mate, turn it up a bit." I like it. I'm
But
weird
is-
that way.
You're on
I get
drugs.
it, but if it was every single week, or it was so
It
consistent,
would drive me insane. Can
You
I
know.
just add, parties is one thing. I get that. And that's kind of a personal choice. Neil loves it. It drives me crazy. But what about fireworks?
that's supposed to be one night of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, why is it
And-
like
and I have to say-
27,000 nights of the year?
Well, it
and
is-
it goes on till 2 in the
Diwali,
morning.
got Eid,
It-
got firework night.
It does happen often, and I have to say, some people, New Year's Eve is one of them.
That's okay.
Honestly,
It's
this
New Year's
year,
Eve.
I don't know
Okay.
if you guys felt it, but this year on New Year's Eve, it woke me up. I was
It was
asleep.
horrendous. The
And
noise
it was
is
horrendous,
horrendous.
and it was going on and on. And actually, what I love looking at fireworks. It's nice to see. I wouldn't go now at this age to a firework display, but what I don't like about it is the disturbance it causes to young children when it frightens them, and to animals.
To the
pets.
dogs. Now, luckily, my
Yeah,
dog isn't
it's-
scared. Other dogs are absolutely petrified.
That
And
is really sad.
But Hattie, sometimes, and I don't know what the bloody festival is. I have no idea. But I'm looking at the clock. It's 1 in the morning. It's
Yeah,
1:30 in the morning. I mean, this
Yeah.
is nuts.
It is nuts. I think if it's a regular occurrence, because
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for here, is it a regular occurrence? So regular that it's disturbing you and preventing you from enjoying your home and having quiet enjoyment of your home, because it's noise from the outside. We're looking at noisy neighbours, right? So I think fireworks night is going to have to be the exception in everybody's life,
That's okay,
whether
but I mean, it's
you
once
like it or loathe it.
See, Hattie, Elizabeth's in New York City in USA. Here, you can't buy fireworks like in the UK. Where do you stand? Very quick side question. I personally think that only public bodies should be able to buy fireworks. That's me, where I am now. I used to
Nah,
love it
I
as a
love
kid.
fireworks. Sorry.
All right, okay. Well, there you are. I've just
It's
found that it's
dangerous
got
as well,
loud,
it's
and
dangerous.
it's just anyway. All right, okay. Let's not get into it. Can I put this up? I'd love you to comment. From Leslie Ian Jones. I'm not going to read it out. You can just see it.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. I mean, look, the council Okay, and councils are very, very largely criticised. I have had hundreds of comments on my TikTok video on this subject where people say, I've been calling the council, I've been making a complaint to the council, they're not doing anything about it. The council must look into the complaint. And I think one of the key things with the council is you've got to badger them over it and keep a record. Again, the day, the time, who you've spoken to.
And which department should you be phoning or complaining to?
I have no idea, but I mean, you'd call up the council and say, I've got a complaint to do with my noisy neighbour, and they will put you through to the
department do you want? I'm sorry,
exactly.
What department do you want? Oh, I can't help you. She's away at lunch.
No. Listen, let's try and stay positive. I mean, it's under the Environmental
Well, I am, but I'm a realist.
I get it. It's under the Environmental Protection Act that the council has to help you. And if there is a noise nuisance means a regular occurrence of any type of noise. It could be different types of noise, but it's regularly happening. You could be living above or below or next door to people who just live loud. You know, their doors are slamming, or you know, they've got all sorts of stuff going on. The council must serve what's called an abatement notice. Okay, an abatement notice to the occupier requiring them to stop or limit their nuisance to certain times of the day. Let's not forget that one of the most important points with noisy neighbours is if the property is tenanted, the landlord will be responsible and liable for dealing with their noisy tenant as well.
And how do you get hold of the land? I'm going to sneeze. How do you get hold of the landlord?
Well, bless you. Well, how do you find out if a property is tenanted? It is not as it's not easy. It's not going to be out there, is it, on Google? This property is owned by X person. Well, actually, a land registry search is something that the everyday person can do. Landregistry.co.uk, I believe, and you can put in a property address, and the name of the owners come up. That is probably one way, but then it's getting the details of those owners. I mean, if you know the property is rented through the local council, a housing association, an agent that's got a private landlord whom it's rented to, the landlord is in the coup with this, you know, is responsible for dealing with their tenant, and the tenant can get evicted for it. I think that's another really important.
Here's can I pose this question to you? As a friend of mine recently was discussing this. They've got a neighbor who is on the phone nearly every night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning,
and they can hear that
loudly,
right?
Really loudly, and my friend can hear the conversations. Can't hear the actual words, but can hear the thing. Now, if the person is, where does it stand? Say if the person is an international banker with a B, and they're doing it for business, or if they're just, I don't know, say that they're talking to their mates who are in Australia or something, but it's every night, especially between 1 and 3 in the morning.
Okay. Now, noise nuisance, regular noise nuisance is regular noise nuisance. It doesn't matter what type of noise it is. If somebody is talking too loudly, as in the example that you said, and it's a nuisance, it's preventing them from sleeping, except it's affecting their health because they're not allowed to sleep. That is a nuisance. Now, I think one of the important things to also say is steps to take to try and stop it before you say, right, I'm going to go and issue a court proceeding to privately sue you. That should be the very, very, very last resort. And I do accept that dealing with councils can be challenging. But my point on that would be just hound your council and make a note of date, time, who you spoke to try and get them to look into it, present the evidence of what you've gathered. This is what's going on, the date, time, what kind of noise it was, any evidence. I mean, this may seem really obvious to say, but in the first instance, if you're not at each other's throats about to kill each other, try and speak to your neighbour about it in as friendly a manner as you can. Say, look, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be, awkward. However, if you can.
Yeah, that is how I would personally approach it. I mean,
that would be great. And what if they tell you to F off? And slam the door in your face, which then is like what a lot of neighbours would just do.
You can try writing a very polite note to your neighbour. and attaching your evidence to say, this is how often it's going on. This is the problem it's causing me or me and my family. We would really appreciate it if you could turn the volume down, reduce the noise levels, or refrain from, because all of this stuff, if you do end up on the council's door and you've got evidence that you've done everything you can to try and deal with it, including trying to contact the landlord if you can find out who the landlord is, this is really key and important stuff, because a council, if the noise isn't stopping and you're carrying on gathering this information and this proof, it could ask you both to attend what's called a mediation.
Right.
To mediate between you, which is an independent mediator, you and the perpetrator, in this case, the noisy neighbour, and say, right, how are we going to resolve this? Because everybody it needs to be resolved. We don't want to fine the noisy neighbour. The council can dish out some really hefty fines. So,
sue the I know this is just my attitude to life. Can you sue the council if they fail to act?
If you can prove that they've failed to act and it's caused you damage, you can sue for anything.
All right, that's what I'm thinking. Just very briefly, Hattie, Michael Verby in the south of Spain. I can't put your comment up. If you change one of the words, I will put the comment up, but I can't put the comment up with that because it's offensive.
Can I ask a quick devil's advocate question? Because all of this I agree with. I mean, I'm a bit on the line with some of it because I'm the kind of nutter that likes the party over the back.
Nutter.
However, I realise I'm in the minority, and I do.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, but Neil, I think one of the key things for you to consider there, this isn't about the party at the back, which we start moving and jogging to because we hear the music and you like it. This is constant. We're talking about consistent, and it's stopping you from you want to read a book, you want to watch a program, you want to put your pet child to sleep. It's that kind of stuff. Because I'd probably jump into the party with you.
I understand. What about the people though? That
depends on the catering.
That would just complain at anything, because on the other side of this spectrum,
yes,
there's always the pendulum that swings the other way. And we all know people where you could be, I don't know, off the top of my head. Let's say I'm doing a gig in the high street. I live in New Malden. They have something called the New Malden Fortnight. Once a year, for 3 hours on a busy Saturday afternoon, I will set up and bring some life to the high street, play music and all that sort of thing. There's always at least one that puts the complaint in. And these are the kind of just pissy moany people that will complain about anything. And the laws you're talking about are designed to protect people. I understand that, but I'd actually like to pick these laws up and bang these idiots around the head with it. There's these chronic complainers.
Hold on. You just said during the day. It's not between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., is it?
No.
Well, that's okay then, isn't it?
It doesn't fall into the law of you can't make noise. Building noise. If builders, for example, they can get special permission, depending on their local council, to do building work after 11 p.m. And however, it's very, 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 very unlikely that a builder's going to get that permission where there are residents near and close by.
Yeah.
Right. You will always get those people that perhaps let's just play devil's advocate that wants to make your life a nightmare by saying the way you're living your life as a neighbour is disturbing them. We had a listener, Russ, email in.
Yes, could you?
Kimmy Lashmere. Yes,
Kimmy Lashmere. Yes. This is for you.
Hi, Kimmy. Shout out.
Yes. So saying our neighbours have visitors and relatives visit regularly and park over the drop curb. It stops me from either coming into my home or coming out. They shouldn't be parking on your drop curb.
Absolutely.
Again, what I'd say is, and it is upsetting when you come home, you can't get into your drive.
Infuriating.
Yeah, I get it. Take pictures of every occasion. When you get to 10, 15, etc., you can then politely write to them if you can. If you can't face them and have a conversation, say, look, this is what's going on. This has to stop. So please, can you stop that? And it's actually, I believe, it comes under obstruction. Okay. And if you've called your local police, because this is another way, you can complain to the police about noise levels and noise nuisance and say, this neighbour, here's the evidence, here's the photos, 20 occasions, keeps blocking my drive. Can you just please pay them a visit to ask that they stop that? I'm not saying that it's going to improve the relationship between you and your neighbour, but it might stop that from happening, which is ultimately what you want to try and do. As for her second question about the tree, the great oak tree that prevents a lot of light from coming into their home, and she feels like jumping over and chopping it down, you can't do that. That's trespassing, and you might just breach a preservation order as well. She's absolutely right on that.
With trees, and this happens, if the branches are coming over your property line, over your fence, do you have the right to chop those branches down?
No, I just scrub their apples.
Or if it's, I was coming to that. If it's like apples or whatever the hell it is, do you have the right to pick those? What's the deal if all these branches are coming?
I'll have to look into that. I have to say, I'll have to look into that, because whatever it is, I have certainly personally cut down lots of branches that lean over into my garden.
Yes. Yes,
because I don't want them leaning into my garden.
Yes, because I have in the past.
When it comes to trees are, as they should be, they're protected by the council, aren't they? So you can't even go and start chopping your own tree down to some extent.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think that I'll have to look into that, though. What's the deal with trees? Neighbours' trees. Maybe we can do an episode on that at some point.
Well, it is very intrusive, because sometimes these people grow a tree, they don't care.
Oh,
and
I've got
blocking your kitchen window, it's blocking your bedroom window. Why should it?
I can see another, out of my bedroom window, I can see another neighbour's tree literally going into another neighbour's through their windows now.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's blocked their whole side window. It's about when they can't even open that window anymore. I don't know what the deal is between them, i.e. have they complained or not. But when it comes to noisy neighbours, it is staggering. But a lot of people suffer because of noisy neighbours. And I think that, it's a balance between people not wanting to fall out by saying anything, but then losing sleep and living uncomfortably as a result of that. And you've got to weigh up, do you want to approach the subject? Can you approach it in a friendly way?
Well,
no, I agree.
Can I ask a question? Hang on, Neil, one sec. Sorry, I just want to go back to the parking issue that Kimmy Lashmar mentioned.
Yes.
You see it a lot in London. Well, I guess you see it in every urban area. Do you have a right, if it's your driveway and it's your drop curb, do you have a right to put, I don't know, dustbins out there that this is my spot? And can other people then just move them if they want?
I would say we'll go back to the highway code. You can't park on a drop curve.
Because I've been fined for that once. I got fined for that.
Yeah, well, you would. If you park on a drop curb, a parking officer can come and give you a ticket for parking on a drop curb.
It wasn't outside someone's house, before you think I'm a terrible hypocrite. It was just coming out of a pathway.
Well, there's drop curbs for all different reasons, deliveries and all sorts. Even you see it a lot in London, even where you've got the sort of the back streets of the restaurants and things like that. If there's drop curbs, you can't park on a drop curb. So the highway code will kick in, is my view of that.
I get your point totally about the branches going up against someone's window. And I completely agree. I mean, it's just a question of just decent common sense and just reasonable understanding between people.
If common sense, Neil, what somebody once told me is anything but common.
I know, and that's why there's very successful people like you in the world. Because
I don't know about very successful, but yes, common sense is not. But let me tell you some interesting stats on the top 5 council that received the most noise complaints in 2021, 2022.
Probably Kingston upon Thames, all the parties I was doing here. No,
let me tell you, the London Borough of Islington is top.
Of course
Royal
it is.
Borough of Kensington and Chelsea comes second.
Yep.
Wow.
London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham is third. City of Westminster, and then Birmingham.
And you know why? Because it's all the building work, it's all the renovation, it's all the people. I'm gonna build down into the cellar and all this.
I got a really good question to ask.
Into the cellar.
Well, it's
yes,
that's caused a huge problem.
I'm going to tell you a story of some neighbours that I dealt with once, and the question I'm going to ask is, and for the benefit of anyone else who would suffer from anything like this, is what can you do about it legally? And I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Now, here where I live, where Russ has been, and you're very welcome to come around for a coffee sometime, Hattie.
Oh, thank you. Slice of cake, coffee and a slice of cake, Russ.
Coffee and a slice of cake, can't Sally. But anyway, here I've always been blessed with neighbours. I was doing a load of.
You said that during our last show, actually.
doing virtual parties over lockdown, and there's music and lights, and the neighbours, quite the opposite, are complaining. They were encouraging me, saying, yes, go on, do it, we need it, that kind of thing, which was wonderful. But once I lived with a girlfriend in another part of New Malden, and they were the most bitter, twisted, spiteful, nasty, evil old people that I've ever they were vile. So I would park outside legally, and I'd find my tyres slashed in the morning on about
Oh
5.
my God.
I thought you said they were old people.
They are.
Well,
I
they
was
can
brought
still
up to
wield a
nice to old
knife.
people. They were evil, apart from one lovely
What
old lady
nice
up
were
the
they,
road
yeah?
who didn't agree with them, and we had a nice cup of tea. She was the exception, but the rest of them were vile. It was as if they'd taken all the shitty ones and put them all in one road. Apart
This
from
is
one old
I
lady.
just got to say, this topic has obviously, these neighbours have left a mark in your life, because you
Damn
mentioned
right.
these people in our last podcast. Do you remember it, Russ?
Well, let me tell you this story. Then I
do.
want to know what I could have done about it
do.
legally. It's too late now. They're probably dead. But
With any
I got
luck.
a phone call one day. My girlfriend had gone out, and I got a phone call one day, and it was, oh, hello. I actually know your girlfriend. Let's call her Susan. It wasn't Susan. I know Susan, and I used to know her when she was back in Wales. Very friendly and all that sort of thing. And he kept me on the phone for about 10 minutes, sort of reminiscing about where he knew Susan from. And I knew it was the guy down the road. And then eventually, about the end of the conversation, he says, by the way, she has HIV, don't you? You do know she's got AIDS, don't you? And I was like, and I was so gobsmacked, I didn't know what to do.
Oh
Now
my God.
that was the
the
level
matter
I was
with these
dealing with
people?
there. Now, I will point out she did not have HIV. It was just a spiteful bastard from down the road who
That's
she had fallen out with for a
disgusting.
completely legitimate reason. For a completely legitimate reason on her part. It was nothing that she'd done. She was in the right on this one, much as we disagreed about everything else, but she was in the right on this one. But
Are you asking what you could have done to sue him, to prosecute him?
if I could have proven who that was, because that is a vile thing to do, right?
Look, my understanding is that in this country, when you talk about damage to feelings, damage to your feelings, that upset me, that hurt me, it's not as highly, and it's not as highly regarded as it is in the US in our laws. It's not taken into consideration. I'm talking about the guy, and we probably have all heard the story, in America, drank a cup of coffee from McDonald's, burnt his lip, got millions.
Yeah, he
Because
did,
he
because he's
said-
an idiot.
Well, he says that experience shocked him so much he
What
could
did he
never
say?
have another cup of coffee
Yeah,
from
well,
yeah.
that's
And
the
also,
potential.
Yeah,
It's
it was
just
shocking.
the other way, isn't it?
I tell you what it was. It was the nuclear center of their apple pie things that they used to sell. I don't know. I don't eat fast food. But-
It's called the filling in the apple pie, which is why
That's
now, because I
yeah.
do like a McDonald's apple pie, it says contents are hot or something. There is a
Yeah.
word. It was a coffee.
Why doesn't it just
The
say,
first one was
"Hey,
with the coffee.
stupid person, this is a hot thing. Have you never gone out of your house before?"
But again, that's
idiot?"
another example of the
See,
pendulum swinging
here,
too far
when
the other way.
When you're thinking about, can I take this person to court, you have to look at what are your losses. What are your losses? And in this
Arguably, my
country,
peace of mind.
your peace of mind, but how do you value that? What do you put? What value do you
being
put
that I work
on
on
that?
a mental
Because
health radio station,
let me
pretty
tell
highly.
you something. I read a story today about Kobe Bryant's wife,
Yep.
who has just won $29 million from the police force for posting explicit photographs of her husband of the crash scene.
The helicopter
Right?
crash. There was
Because she was
if you
so-
don't know Kobe Bryant, just very, very
Yes.
briefly, if you don't know, in America, you will. In the UK and Europe, you may not. Huge basketball star, absolutely gigantic. In a helicopter, the helicopter crashed. That's it.
And him and his daughter passed. It was such a tragic event.
They both died.
But because
Little
she
girl.
said, and her argument was, Neil, and how I'm tying this in is because she said that she, just when she was ready to start her mourning process, she saw these images and it just ripped her to pieces, absolutely ripped her to pieces. So when you ask yourself the question, you said it upset me, it upset my peace of mind, it upset me. There are, in our laws, unfortunately, not on all topics, but generally they do not account for your feelings in pounds and pence, unless it's a mental well-being issue, potentially, or it stopped you from working, it stopped you from earning because you were so depressed, you were so upset, you were so
So
distraught.
essentially, really, in the UK, there's not much I could have done about it.
Well, you
I
didn't
don't
have
think you would have
proof either, of
succeeded.
course. You didn't have proof, did you? And you didn't record it. I mean, you wouldn't think that was coming in the conversation, which up to then had been most amicable. So why would you record it? You wouldn't.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
It was
sad.
a really,
It is.
it was a really,
I mean, that's,
just a very
that's
cruel.
horrific.
It's horrific.
Hattie,
yeah,
can I ask you a
absolutely.
very quick question? It's not about
Yes.
this subject, but it's something that Neil's just mentioned. What, briefly, what is the law about recording a phone conversation? Are you allowed to do that, or you're not allowed to do it? What's the deal?
Well, you are allowed to do that. You are
do
allowed
I have to
do
tell
that.
you?
You have to tell them.
Corporates have to tell you, but if you're having a private conversation as an individual with somebody else, of course you can record it. Why couldn't you record it?
No, I don't know. I'm asking
Yeah.
the question.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
not a
private
pejorative question. I
it's-
don't know
it's
what
a-
the answer is.
Yeah. My understanding is if
constitutes
it's a
corporate?
private
What com-
it's a,
what's
you're not a corporate, you're not a business, you're not a company, so you're not Santander, you're not whoever the insurance
Well, we are
broker.
a company. We are a company. We're men's radio station.
but
CIC.
you're meant. Well, as men's radio station, when you're saying can you record, I thought you meant a telephone call
Yeah. No. I am talking
between
about a
men's
telephone.
between.
I am no. I'm talking about a telephone call. So supposing I was having a conversation with somebody whom I didn't trust, and I thought, no, for the benefit of my business partners and co-directors, I'm going to record this because I'm not happy with
Good
it. Do
question.
I have the right to do that?
See, Russ, in courtrooms, I've seen judges say that piece of evidence cannot be submitted, and then they will reel out the reasons why. But then I've also seen judges say, well, actually, that's quite relevant, so I'd like to see it. I'd like to hear it. It just depends on what grounds and what you're trying to do with that information and for what purposes. Does that make sense? If
No, it
you're trying
does.
to prove somebody has blatantly lied, if somebody has blatantly lied and to your detriment, and you say to them, that's not what you said. They said, well, sorry, but I didn't say that. And you say, well, why don't you just take a listen to this? I don't think you'll even end up in court with anybody sensible.
precisely.
You've got the evidence to take them all that way. So wouldn't that
Absolutely
be the case, I guess?
Yeah.
Interesting, because I thought you always had to tell people you were recording them, even
My
if you
understanding
weren't.
is, my understanding is if you're a business or a corporate, you have to say this is being recorded, and that's why you kind of very often hear when you're on hold for training and monitoring purposes. That's the kind of line that comes after it. But when you're an individual, lots of people provide evidence saying, it happens a lot in domestic abuse cases and in divorce cases where parties have agreed a settlement, and one person says, I didn't agree that, and they say, well, here you go, because I actually recorded you. And and 9 times out of 10, I've never seen a court say, well, we can't actually use that.
Right. Okay. I'm
Next
sorry. I know
week's
it's not why
show-
you're here, but again,
No.
that could be to do with the neighbours. Like I phoned the neighbour, I was really polite, and this is what I was told.
This was the nature of the call.
So, okay, so we can relate it back to that. Good.
Next
Good.
week's show, guys,
Yes, please.
Yes.
I thought we could do redundancy and your rights. What do you think?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Redundancy.
Redundancy and your rights.
Hopefully
Maybe
I'll
throw
still
in
be
the
here.
4-day working week in there as well. That's just been tried successfully.
Say that one again. I'm
little
so sorry.
tease.
I was still laughing about Neil's gag. Go on,
What was
because he
that? I
said
didn't-
hopefully I'll still be here.
You said redundancy. I said I hope I'll be still here. It's just
I hope so. It doesn't work.
Well, me
unless
too,
there's
Hattie.
a
I wouldn't
true-
really-
Neil,
I've never
Neil
felt
is,
so
as
much
far
fun
as
in my
I'm
life
concerned,
before.
Neil is like the ravens at the Tower of London.
I
You'll
love
be
it.
here. So go on. So it's redundancy and your
So
rights.
I was
and then
thinking
you-
redundancy or your rights. So we could throw in the new 4-day working week trial that was successfully trialed.
not familiar with it.
4-day working week. The government's done a trial with lots of businesses to say, does it work better?
No. Of course it blooming doesn't.
Hattie, that'd be
Somebody's
brilliant.
saying-
I'm really looking forward to that already. Thank you, Hattie. It's been amazing again.
Thank
It's
you.
been really great. Hattie, I love the way that you cut through any jargon
Yeah,
and all the
make it interesting and
gobbledygook
fun,
and just
dare I
say,
say.
boom, this
We
is
have
how
to make
it
it
is.
fun. We
Everything-
won't remember it otherwise. It'll be pale, male, and stale, Neil.
And we're not having any of that.
We're not having any of that. Not on
Hattie,
this show.
Hattie, very
Not on this show.
quickly,
Back at
people,
yourself, sister.
Not on
if
my watch.
if people want to get to hear your podcast and everything, it's
Yes, getslegallyspeaking.com. And these radio shows are also on there in full format. So they can get this episode again on my website. All of
Brilliant.
the episodes that we've done.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Thank
Bravo,
you, Hattie.
everybody. Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you, Hattie
Have a great
Suvari.
afternoon.
Brilliant. Look forward to next week. Bye-bye.
Very quickly before we go, I promised to plug the challenge that our lovely
yeah, go
first
on.
guest was
Well
doing.
done.
I've made it simple so it's easy to type in tinyurl.com/Nikki challenge, NIKNA challenge.
What is that?
tinyurl.com
Tiny URL.
.com
Okay.
Nikki, NIKA NIKI, sorry, NIKI. I'll start again. tinyurl.com.
No, we got it. We got some on the screen. Great.
Nikki Chan.
All that remains is that,
And that goes to cancer research, and she's doing the cold water challenge.
Beautiful.
Good luck, Nikki.
and all that remains is to wish my daughter a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Because she's fab. Right, that's it, everybody. I'll be back on Friday. Neil will be back on Monday. Thank you so much. And if you've got questions about redundancy and everything like that, shove them to me, shove them to Neil, and we will get Hattie to answer them. Until then, stay safe. Bye, gang.
Good afternoon. Take care.